top 5 attackers. It's been a long time. I'm talking about pretty much a year and a few months since the last time we did this, which I want to say is probably pretty accurate. Not much has changed in terms of the meta or anything of that sort. I think definitely with some newer units coming out now, we have seen some new faces come up and some new faces rise, and I would say the way I think about the top 5 attackers has definitely changed. In the last list, I actually had Shuri and Yusuke in there, and that's crazy. Just for at the time of the game, I would say they were some of the strongest attackers, but nowadays, not so much. But real quick before we get into it, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this video, find it informative, entertaining, the case may be, support your boy. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate all the support recently on the channel. Can't thank you guys enough. Since we are in kind of a down period for GS until we get new content, you know, the hype low for the game, the interest kind of low at the moment, but you guys always showing up, supporting the videos, and I really can't thank you guys enough for that. One thing I would like to mention before we actually get started is that, for one, this list is pretty much my opinion on my own. This is what I have gathered through my playtime, through my experience with the game. Don't take this as gospel by any means. This is just completely formulated by me and what I think currently about the game. So, honorable mentions. It's actually quite vast this time around. Every single ramping damage dealer in here. Teast, Dark Cilia, Eris, Yusuke, all of them are still really strong. Really good still. It's just that in this day and age, there's just a lot of characters and a lot of ways to just instantly delete a lot of bosses in the game, to the point to where we really don't need ramping damage dealers too much anymore. We still do definitely and extremely hard content, but I mean, I want to say you don't really see them used too much. It's usually faster for you to use someone else. And also, we putting Berwick in the honorable mention this time around too, which may come as a surprise to some people. Berwick still ridiculous though. 100% damage up with fire allies, right? 100% crit rate, arch gen. He does a little bit of everything for you, and he still hits pretty hard. But I think just other units have came in that kind of pushed him down just a little bit. Also, there's like a few other units that I could mention that are also like just really freaking insane, like Fire Roy for an example, Hiei, Toguro, like the list goes on. There's so many good attackers nowadays, it's hard to even put them all on a list. So coming in at number 5, I don't think this one will surprise anyone, but it's the girl Sistina. Sistina has been an absolute insane unit ever since she came out. I think back in 2019, or was it 2020? I think she came out in 2020. Absolutely ridiculous. Barrier on her art, 100% physical damage up on her true art. On top of that, also doing the 30% damage resist down, if I'm not mistaken. Tons of damage up with this girl, tons of deeps. You put some crit rate on her, she's gonna hit really hard. She's a vital unit in some of the hardest content in the game. She's also really good in raids. She's good in mines. She's good at nukes because she can buff up physical damage. Like, this girl can kind of do a little bit of everything. I think the only negative about Sistina is that I really wish that her cross art was a little bit more viable. I do know that there have been people that actually have cleared some of the hardest content in the game with her cross art, but it would be cool if like the main gimmick to her, which is that cross art, would actually be a little bit more useful, but it's really not. But yeah, Sistina definitely takes this number 5 spot. Has changed the game in terms of physical damage. Now moving on to number 4. This is one of the newbies in the chat, man. And that's the boy Hal, man. Ooh, this man Hal. Hal is literally actual just God. There's no other way to put it. This guy does damage for days. He can nuke. He can be an attacker. He could even technically damage buff his team to an extent if you're using mostly magic damage dealers. Hal being from the Shaman King crossover, of course, means that he's extremely limited. However, if we're considering team comps here, if you put Hal on a team with like Fire Roy, Priscilla, and then like, I don't know, Commander Forte or something like that, the damage on that team would be absolutely insane, like through the roof. And even though this guy relies to an extent on the stats element, because in order for him to get the full effect of his kit, he will need to burn the enemy, it still just doesn't even matter. The main issue with Hal is more so just his true art is extremely slow. But even with that being said, like, it doesn't really matter a lot of the times unless you're trying to speed clear certain things. That's the only time whenever this really matters. But in, for example, like in raids, in mines, and just regular nuking, if you're not really caring about getting on the leaderboards, this guy can kind of do everything. He hits hard, he does a lot of deeps, he can nuke. I've even used him alongside some other characters like Juno, for an example, to just deal more damage with her because he applies that 50% magic resist down. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to say. How absolutely is ridiculously strong. And now the number 3 spot, man. You know what? And I was debating whether putting these guys number 3 or number 2. And yes, it is 2 people. They are just way too good. Like, the fact is that you can take these 2 into so many different content and just like completely eliminate a boss within the first like 4 seconds of the fight. It's ridiculous. And I'm talking about none other than Saitama and New Year's Malim. Now, the reason why I put both of these guys here in number 3 was because I really couldn't decide if I wanted to do New Year's Balim in 3 and Saitama in 2, or whatever the case may be. But I was like, you know what, screw it. We're going to put them both in the same tier. Saitama has been insane ever since he's graced Grand Summoners. Literally has been destroying every single boss. If you guys have played the raids and played against other Saitama players, you guys know how wild this unit is. He can completely eliminate a raid boss's HP like it is nothing. And with the help of New Year's Malim, this just gets even wilder. And New Year's Malim is kind of similar. She also does a lot of damage, but the thing is that whenever you put these two together, it is wild. Of course, this being top 5 attackers though, that's pretty much all they do. They're just really hard hitters, and if you can't nuke it with them, then you probably have to do it like a slow way or the sustained way. The fact is that if you have either one of these characters, you probably know exactly how stupid it is. You see this raid boss? Oh, just nuke him. Why not? See this extremely challenging fight? Nuke him. Why not? Hell, in some of the hardest trials in the game, which is Dungeon of Trials, look at this. This is a floor 27. People are out here nuking this thing with Saitama and New Year's Malim. Definitely are mainstays in the nuking scene, and I think as just top attackers for a while. They will be rivaled this year, though, I will say. There are some pretty crazy attackers coming out later on, but definitely these two, I think are going to have the limelight for quite a while. And number 2, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was debating even putting this guy on the list because everybody knows he's good. I feel like he's not as good as he used to be. It's not like he got bad or got worse. It's just, I just think it's like more units came out that are even crazier than what he can do, especially within this next year. We're going to have some crazy units come out that are, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? He's a staple. I feel like he has to be here some way, somehow. And that's Vox. Vox, ever since his release, has been disgustingly strong. 100% crit rate buffer, can be used in practically any single team comp. He fits anywhere. He has technically a heal in his kit because he has the all stats up by 20%, which is able to heal you. The 100% crit buff, which just makes everyone deal tons and tons of damage. If this is someone you get very early on, he can just hard carry your account. It's crazy. It's been like 3 years of Vox being out, and every single year, man, he just is always on this top 5. Maybe one day he'll get kicked off of it, but at the same time, I just feel like his kit's way too good. It's just way too well-rounded for him not to be on here some way. And for the final unit, I don't think this should surprise anyone. The hybrid unit, the hybrid meta of characters releasing, being able to support their team and deal hella damage at the same time. There should be no surprise as to who is number 1. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Juno. Juno being able to not only be one of the hardest hitting attackers in the game, but also being one of the best arch generers in the game means that this girl is extremely flexible. You can literally put her on your team as an arch generer instead of an attacker, and she still works for you. But you can use this girl as the main attacker, and she does extreme amounts of damage. Can pretty much trivialize every piece of content in the game. Like, there's nothing that can touch this girl. Literally, the only thing that screws this girl over most of the time, either a fight that makes it to where you can't deal dark damage, or a fight that rules out demons, so you can't use demons. Those are like the only things that make her like not usable in a lot of different content. Apart from that, she can be used everywhere, man. It is ridiculous how strong and how meta-breaking Juno actually is. She is by far one of the most broken units GS has ever released. Yeah, like if you get this unit, you win. I always make this joke of how if you get these characters, you're playing on easy mode, but this is not a joke anymore. It is facts. Like, this is a factual statement. There's no other way to put it. This girl is insane. And I guess that means that's the end of top 5 attackers for 2022. I don't know why. I feel like it's kind of a bittersweet ending almost, right? For some reason, I feel like that. I think it's just me seeing how the game has progressed all these years and seeing some of the craziest top 5 units that have came out. I used to do these like literally every single month, and seeing now that they're yearly and the meta's really not shifting too much anymore, it's crazy to see who makes it here and who doesn't. There were other units too that I could have mentioned, like Rudius and stuff like that. But I mean, hey, at this point, it's even hard to do a top 5 attackers list. There's just too many good ones, man. There really are. But that's gonna be it for this one, man. Tell me down below who your top 5 attackers were. If there are a list similar to this, or if you think this character should have been lower, this character should have been higher, whatever the case may have been, man. That's gonna be it for this one. Thank you all for coming out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more. And you guys, been your boy P, and last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.